You can subscribe to The Leader through your podcast provider to make sure you don't miss out on the Evening Standard's news, analysis and commentary every day at 4 p.m. Now, from the Evening Standard in London, this is The Leader.
Evening Standard, it's your Evening Standard.
Hi, I'm David Marsland. A deportation flight carrying 17 offenders to Jamaica has gone ahead, but 25 are still in the UK.
There's been a problem with phone signals, O2 phone signals in the area of the detention centres where they're held. They weren't able to get proper legal advice.
Our Home Affairs editor Martin Bentham explains the legal row over mobile phones that stopped some of those due to leave from flying. Also,
if we start now, services could be running by the end of the decade.
HS2 finally gets the green light, while the Evening Standard wants it to start without more delay. And
he was clearly a very popular member of the Pembroke College, Oxford Middle Common Room. He ran the bar.
Ahead of the New Hampshire primary, we take a look at the Democrats' surprise frontrunner Pete Buttigieg's early years at Oxford University. Taken from the Evening Standard's editorial column, this is The Leader. For the whole thing, pick up the newspaper or head to standard.co.uk/comment. In a moment, the deportation flight that's taking some offenders to Jamaica, but left others behind.
We want human rights! More protest rights! We want human rights!
While demonstrators protested outside Parliament last night, lawyers for passengers on a deportation flight to Jamaica were making their case to the appeal court. Very late, the ruling came, ordering the Home Office not to carry out the scheduled flight as planned, over concerns mobile phone outages had stopped some of the proposed passengers getting legal advice in detention. It went ahead anyway, but with 25 of the original 42 people not on board. Our Home Affairs editor Martin Bentham is here. Martin, who was on this plane?
Well, the people who have been deported are a group of Jamaican nationals who have committed serious offences. The question mark over some of their cases, at the very least, from the campaign groups and from Labour and so on, is that some of them came over here as very young children. Some of them came over here as children who are much older, and obviously we're not quite sure of every single individual in there, but there will be probably people who are adults when they came over as well. But the focus has been on those who came here as children, don't have a great deal of connection or any connection, according to those who represent them, with Jamaica, and feel that their lives are here and that they're being unfairly, in their view, removed from this country.
And the idea is that because they'd grown up in the UK, they were more the UK's problem than Jamaica's, and it was unfair to send them across to that country.
That's what the allegation is, although there is that argument about whose responsibility they are, and also the debate tends to be coming a little bit from, in the particular cases that we're hearing about, from the individuals themselves, not about the moral responsibility of the country's concerned necessarily, but about the plight of the individuals and the fact that they're being, as they see it, ripped out of where they grew up, where they know, into an environment which they, in essence, see as an alien foreign environment to them, even though technically they are of that nationality.
Now, as I understood it, the flight has gone, but I thought that the Court of Appeal had ordered it to not leave. How has that happened?
What actually happened was that there's been a problem with phone signals, O2 phone signals, in the area of the detention centres where they're held, and that a campaign group called Detention Action, which has been fighting a very tenacious battle on this, argued in essence that they weren't able to get the proper legal advice, and the Court of Appeal, in this late night ruling, upheld that the ruling therefore was that they could not be deported unless the Home Office was satisfied and could show that they had access, a proper phone signal, and access therefore to legal advice, which people are entitled to before they're removed.
So those 25 remain in the country, and as things proceed, could be some time.
It could be some time. It's impossible to predict in any of these type of cases how long it takes. And the simple matter is that these deportation flights do not take place every other day. They take some time to organise. And yes, it could be a considerable time. And of course, many of them may end up getting bail. Then there could be an issue with where they then are, whether they attend, whether they comply with any subsequent deportation order. So there's all that complexity. And the Home Office's point is that that they include some people who've committed offences such as rape, manslaughter, violent offences. They've done bad things. Their counter-argument is, in some cases, although we don't know all their offending history and their personal circumstances, but some of them have tried to claim, at the very least, that they have only made one mistake in their lives and they're being punished for it. Well, we don't actually know at this stage the precise detail of every single case and exactly their personal circumstances. And so I think our position would be that you need to look very carefully at the individual cases, but the broad principle is correct, that if people who are not British citizens in effect abuse the hospitality of this country, however long they've been here, that there is a price to pay sometimes. And obviously most people don't commit these type of crimes, and the public does need protecting from people committing serious crimes.
Next. HS2 is go. It's behind schedule, it's over budget, but HS2 is going ahead.
We can consign the next generation to overcrowding, standing up in the carriageways, or we can have the guts to take a decision. No matter how difficult, unlike the party opposite, by the way, Mr. Speaker, no matter how difficult and how controversial, that will deliver prosperity to every part of the country.
At least most of it's going ahead. Phase 1, connecting London to Euston, and Phase 2A, which goes to Crewe, have been approved. Phase 2B, between Manchester and Leeds, is under review.
So as we draw up this plan, we are not asking whether it's Phase 2B or not 2B. That is not the question, Mr. Speaker. The question is how we can bring a transport revolution to the north sooner. And together this revolution in transport, in local and national transport, has the potential to be truly transformative for the entire country.
The cost of Phase 1 is projected at £35 to £45 billion. Total cost could be more than £100 billion, but the Evening Standard's editorial column says it's a project that has to be completed.
It's hardly surprising that Boris Johnson has seen sense. No administration serious about levelling up parts of the country could cancel the single most important project to rebalance the economic geography of England. No Prime Minister who quite rightly likes to be associated with big infrastructure could cancel the biggest infrastructure project of them all. And let's cut to the chase. No Conservative Party trying to win re-election this May for Andy Street, the Mayor of the West Midlands, was going to go ahead with a cancellation, which he said would set back the revival of the area by decades. Mr. Street was right, and the Downing Street advisers who have been overruled are wrong. HS2 is a huge boost for the Midlands and for the north of England. More buses and cycle lanes are fine, but they are no substitute for this transformational scheme.
And you can read comprehensive coverage of the HS2 announcement in the Evening Standard or online at standard.co.uk. Now, the Iowa caucus was a disaster for the Democrats, a counting shambles from which no clear winner emerged. Tonight they go again. This time it's New Hampshire, voting for its pick for the party's nomination to take on Donald Trump. Polling suggests Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg are the front runners. Mr. Buttigieg is the outsider who few had heard of, except perhaps in Oxford. The man who would be president studied philosophy, politics and economics at university there, and the Evening Standard's Sam Fishwick's been looking at what he got up to as a student. Sam, what did you learn?
He was clearly a very popular member of the Pembroke College, Oxford Middle Common Room. He ran the bar, which is always the key to many friendships at university, where he introduced a whiskey club. So he clearly had, a lot of extracurricular activities when he wasn't, reading Joyce or studying economics or learning philosophy. He was a busy man.
He certainly gives the impression of being someone who's very serious and probably set his sights on being the president early. Is there any dirt on him, Sam?
Well, we know he snuck his way onto, it's reported, I should say, that he snuck his way onto a North Sea freighter when he needed to lock himself away and revise for his finals, which is one way of getting a little bit of peace of mind.
How do you sneak onto a North Sea freighter?
Yeah, this is something I don't have the answer to, I'm afraid. This is again part of the sort of apocryphal Pete Buttigieg, a reported story, a rumoured story, a story whispered in the annals of college law. But I'm told that was it was such a sort of vivacious troop at Pembroke at the time that this is the only place to get any sort of peace and quiet.
Seems to have studied hard then during his time. What do people remember most about him then? What kind of things were they talking about?
People may remember him giving fantastic speeches. He presented one of the 3 college dinners and is said to have spoke phenomenally. He was a team player, volunteered for anything he could put his name to, and clearly a highly valued member of the sort of Pembroke community.
So what was he doing here? Why was he at Pembroke?
He won a Rhodes Scholarship, which I'm sure listeners will know is what brought Bill Clinton to Oxford in the first place. So again, you're seeing the sort of pathway to the White House being set out from a very young age. Although Rhodes scholars will always tell you that, in fact, the presidency was far too sort of uncool for a Rhodes Scholar.
We'll have coverage of the New Hampshire vote in our audio news bulletins available from 7 a.m. Just ask your smart speaker for the news from the Evening Standard. And that's The Leader. We're back at 4 p.m. tomorrow.